So, good morning, friends. I want to extend a warm welcome to you today. Everyone is welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your age, your race, your income, your religion, or the gender with which you identify. You are welcome here regardless of who you love, who you vote for, the regrets that burden you, or the mistakes you have made. In this safe community, we support each other in the sacred task of becoming, celebrate the transcending mystery of life, and rely on the transforming power of love. Here, we revere the words of the great teachers, such as Jesus, the Buddha, and Confucius. It is, however, the task of every UU to be their own Buddha, their own Jesus, their own Confucius. It is our work as a community to walk with each other along the spiritual pathways that lead towards happiness, compassion, and life fully lived. And while we are a safe harbor where there is solace and healing, we are also a launching pad from which we are propelled into the tumult of life to live courageously, justly, and lovingly. In this sacred place, we create the structures that lift up the downtrodden, set the captives free, and heal the brokenhearted. Here we have learned that to be fully human is to be fully divine, and that with a little help from our friends, we can each tell our own unique story. Okay, so thank you, Beth. I took a bit of a chance when I decided to go with dance, but then I was very gratified when Beth immediately, who was our music director, immediately latched onto it and said, yeah, this is a really good idea. So the arrangements of the room and the dancing has all been Beth's thing. So Beth, thank you for doing that. And Beth will lead us later in a little bit of a dance, and we're looking forward to that. Especially, so if you have a phone and would like to record that, please record that.
It's already being recorded.
So at any rate, the main idea behind this service is that dance is a kind of spiritual practice. It's a very, very old kind of spiritual practice. Certainly, I remember reading a story about an anthropologist who had gone into the jungles of some place or other with a missionary to watch what the missionary was doing, and the missionary was trying to convince the native people, the tribe that he was working with, that if they read this book, that it would actually that they could be religious, and they said, well, we already have a religion. We don't really see much religion in that book. And the anthropologist asked, well, where is your religion? Well, we dance it. We dance it. So, and we dance because we need to get our bodies involved, and so we can have some body knowing, so we can get in contact with our instincts. And we dance because we reenact our myths. So, and we're going to be talking about both those kinds of dancing coming up later on. But mostly we're just going to dance. So some of you are very good at shaking it all about. So I lay awake last night deciding what to do with my sermon that I had written by Thursday evening. And I decided to throw it out. So this is where I'm going today. I have something I want to say, and I even though I'd written an entire sermon, I didn't say what I'd wanted to say. And what I want to say is that dance is an important spiritual discipline. And as I said earlier, it's something that our ancestors used probably back long before there was anything like language. There was dance. And dance does a couple things. But what it's especially important for dance to do for modern people like us is, we are social creatures, and we operate in a culture system, and we all adopt a culture, we all adopt a worldview. And the farther along the line we get with civilization, at least I think we're getting farther along the line, the more complex things come. Operating a culture back 75,000 years ago was probably pretty simple. You had some stone axes, and you went out and you hunted the mammoth or whatever you were hunting, and you know, you did a little dance and everything. But now it's like operating a culture, which we're all culture operators. Now it's like flying a 747, but it's like flying it by the seat of your pants. It's complex. There's a lot of dials and knobs and levers, and getting everyone home safe is going to is an important part. I also think that one of the things that could help us in these current culture wars, the culture wars are vicious in this country. And I think it's my opinion that if we could learn how to dance together, I have told most of you here, I'm cultivating a friend with a friend who has a radically different both religious and political point of view, and I think we should maybe dance, maybe together. Maybe I'll offer the invitation to him. So at any rate, I belong to a group of people called the Tuesday Talkers, and we are a group of men who get together every week on Tuesdays. It's not surprisingly, since we are the Tuesday Talkers, and we talk about things. And I have a couple of my friends who are very much into science. Actually, one of them is a physicist who's retired from the physics department at Notre Dame, and the other one is a person who did a lot of, as a naval officer, did a lot of work with nuclear submarines, including being in one on many missions. And so they're both very scientifically oriented, and they have both told me. Actually told me a couple of weeks ago, I said, I'm not either religious or spiritual. And I said, well, that's really interesting. I'd like to hear more about that sometime. That's what I said on the outside. But I said on the inside, oh, for Christ's sake, you guys. to be the kids are here. Sorry about that. To be a person, to be a culture-using human being who has a consciousness, and a self-awareness, and a sense of self, you have to be a spiritual person for the reasons I mentioned earlier. We get laid over by this layer upon layer of culture. Actually, Meister Eckhart, the father of German mysticism, called it was like having your soul or your heart wrapped in 30 or 40 thick ox hides that it becomes impenetrable, and because it becomes impenetrable, we often lose our vitality for life. We are no longer in connection with the deep instinctual part of ourselves, that primal bliss that goes along with just being alive, and that we need so much to dance, to participate in life in a meaningful, hopeful way. And so dance, I think, is one of the best ways to kind of scrape that crust off, to kind of cut through those many ox hides that surround our heart. I mean, how many here sometimes feel as if they've lost the zest for life, and just like think that life is nothing but obligation, and making the next meeting, even getting the next sermon out. It can be something of a downer sometimes. So, at any rate, so I said I'd like to talk about the mythological part of dance, but I'm going to talk about, to do that, I'm going to explain something that's fundamental to us. I was at the soup kitchen yesterday, and Liz Goodwin brought a very lovely Catholic lady and she was sharing her faith story with me. And of course, I'm always happy to hear that, these kind of stories, because I am pro-religion. I'm pro-Catholic and pro-Buddhist and pro-Islam, because I have come to the belief that these old religions, these great old religions, are still very valuable, even though they're not true. mean, that's why I think they're slipping so badly. Jim was just telling me about a church he knows of where things are slipping badly. I know a lot of United Methodist churches are just slipping away because people don't attend anymore. But I think it's because a lot of it is just that people can no longer really believe the way that their religion is being presented. That they need to put their religion on a different foundation. But anyway, I didn't tell her all that. I was just sharing my faith experience. And I said, I'm really into the Virgin Mary myself. I did a retreat years and years, decades ago at a convent where for retired nuns. And I saw a little Virgin Mary on the shelves, a little statue about 12 inches high. So I bought it, and it has a important place in my shrine. I have a shrine to the Virgin Mary, and so it's very important to me because the Virgin Mary reminds me, and this is the spiritual part of it, reminds me that there is a spiritual component or a compassion, an instinct towards compassion within me that I need to be in connection with. I need to work on compassion. And I really need also, my wife says that I need to work on the feminine stuff too. So at any rate, so I keep that small statue of the Virgin Mary, along with several other statues and other representations and icons of her. So anyway, so that's that's the way mythology works. Which reminds me of Viola Moore. How many people remember Viola Moore? Yeah, Viola used to say. Do you remember what she used to say? Can anyone remember? You don't have to leave your what at the door here. Don't have to leave your brains at the door to be a part of the church. But actually, the truth is that we don't want you to. But the truth is that you do have to park it sometimes to go for the deep spirituality of what we're about, because it's only the myth and the dance and the music and the other parts of our liturgy that really speak to the parts of ourselves that really aren't accessible via intellect. One of the things Jesus said was that you should not hide your light under a bushel. And by that, I think he meant that you need to bring your whole self out. Now that's, I think, what the Hokey Pokey is about. The Hokey Pokey is about putting your whole self in, and I don't know whether you need to shake it all about or not, but putting your whole self in to the life part, to be able to take some risks with life. This service actually was a bit of a risk. I thought, oh man, I did it and I sent it out, and I thought, oh man, I'm crazy to do something like this. But the thing, it's turning out pretty good. And Jim showed up to give us some music, and Judy's here, and Beth kind of organized the whole thing. So it's been quite lovely. Dance helps us shine our lights by removing our inhibitions and just letting us be. Okay. Now there's the dance. How many people are familiar with Swan Lake here? Yeah. Okay. I was at a production of Swan Lake some time ago by a Russian, not in Russia, but by a Russian troupe. And I was familiar with the dance and the story. And at the end of the dance, the curtains fell, but neither Odette nor Siegfried died. And I just said to my wife, boy, if they don't die, it doesn't mean anything. And the guy in front of me said, yeah, what's with that? They got to die. We were waiting for that part, But anyway, here's the story of Siegfried and Odette. Some of you already know it. Siegfried has just turned 21. He's a prince, the son of a king and a queen. And there's a big party at the castle. And the big party involves a lot of young, beautiful princesses, any of which Siegfried could choose to be his wife and eventually his king. Well, for some reason known only to the Tchaikovsky, one of his gifts is a crossbow. So he goes out and he takes his crossbow out into the forest, and there he comes upon some swans swimming in a lake, and he stayed there for a while. And when evening comes, the swans turn into beautiful young maidens, and especially one young swan named Odette, who is the princess of the swans, becomes a beautiful young princess. Well, you guys see where the story is going. They fall in love. And then there's some confusion with the black swan that I won't go into here. But it turns out that the reason they become swans during the day is because Rothbart, a chancellor, a enchanter, a sorcerer, has cast a spell on them so that this is the way they'll be. And they want to break the spell. Well, Siegfried tries, and there are some big mistakes made. I won't say what they are. He's unable to break the spell. And in the end of the very end of the show, the Odette realizes that the only way she can break the enchanter's spell, Rothbart's spell, and he's really an ugly guy, really not just ugly internally, but ugly externally. And he is to jump into the lake, to fling herself into the lake, and to her own death. Now here is Siegfried. Siegfried, the spell is broken, right? Everything's cool with the swans, except of course Odette, who had to fling herself into the lake. He could go back to the castle because there are a lot of pretty young girls there. And he could have a privileged life, but he doesn't. He flings himself into the lake with Odette. And then the final scenes are usually some kind of two swans swimming together, and sometimes they're Odette and Siegfried. Actually, one production I saw, they actually were sitting on a crescent moon that had risen over the stage. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful story. But the lesson in Swan Lake is the same lesson that is the lesson in, the same lesson that is in the Hokey Pokey. You got to put your whole self in. You got to, and if that means jumping into the lake after Odette, that's what you got to do. If that's what's going to bring you life. And that's what these spiritual disciplines of dance does. It reinforms us about what we're really about. It helps us find, and I'm not just talking about dance as a spiritual discipline. I'm talking about all kinds of disciplines, prayer, meditation, and there are many, fasting. It's that in doing the spiritual discipline and jumping in and living your life, living all of your life, that we are likely to find, as Jesus said, to take the bushel off our light. We are more likely to find our passions. And when we find our passions, we find our vitality. I was just thinking about the Catholic woman who I talked to. She had real passion for Catholicism. She had real passion for her work as a youth minister. And I thought that is just great. And so that is my desire for me and for all of you too, that you will find some discipline or some way of being in the world that will keep the complexity and the divisiveness of your culture scraped off enough so that you can have these kind of experiences, the experience of actually being the light, of having a light that you feel compelled to shine into the world. And that is my sermon for today. And Beth, would you like to take over? Well, I do have a I do have a sentence in here I'd like to read. So here is the bottom line for me anyway. When we are able to throw ourselves into the dance of life, we can often know in the deepest levels of our being that there is a yes to our life for which there is not a no. That to exist just as I am is good and right, and that life, even with all its darkness and suffering, is still unbearably beautiful. And Beth, I turn it over to you.